call the Activities Committee meeting to order. And before we start, I'd like, we have our student liaisons here, so if you'd introduce yourselves, that would be great.
I'm Danielle Levin.
And I'm Sammy Others.
Okay, and this is good practice. You can turn your microphone on, so then if you want to, and then you just tell us what grade you're in also.
11.
And I'm in 10.
Okay, great, thank you. I'll start to, is there any public comment on the agenda items? Okay, so we're going to start with Mr. Allen. He's going to talk to us about the character development program for the football team. So and there's a presentation, so we should come down. All right, thanks.
I'm going to be very brief today. I'm also going to apologize for sitting up here. I've been having some health issues, and so standing and sitting, going up and down is not good for me right now. So is it okay if should I hold that?
That way everyone can hear.
Okay. Test one, test.
Just press button until it works.
Test one.
Hello? Oh my goodness. Okay. So what I'm going to share with you tonight is only about 10 minutes worth of ideas that we've come up with to do what good coaches always do, and that is not just coach the X's and the O's and go for the W, but also to work with kids to build character. And so I just want to start out with this little piece right here, just for 2 minutes or so. Oh my goodness. Just like the kids, it did work before the game. Here we go.
There will never be a point in your time, in your life, where it's the right time to do a great thing. If you wait for that perfect moment, that perfect timing, it's not going to happen. You know what you have to do? You have to create the perfect time and the perfect opportunity and the perfect situation. So a lot of people become comfortable. They stop growing. They stop wanting anything. They become satisfied. People getting ready to go to jobs that they don't like. Jobs that are making them sick. You see, when you're not pursuing your goal, you are literally committing spiritual suicide. When you have some goal out here that you're stretching for and reaching for that takes you out of your comfort zone, you'll find out some talents and abilities you have that you didn't know you had. When the message of misery visits you, what are you going to do? What will keep you in the game? There are things that you think you'll never need to know, that you may only need to know one time in your life, but that could save your life because you have that knowledge. Unless you attempt to do something beyond that, which you've already mastered, you will never grow. What is it that you looked at some point in time and you decided that you couldn't do it? That you talked yourself out of it? You're waiting on your next door neighbor to make it happen for you. It may not happen. If you're waiting on your mother or your father, they may be so ancient in their thinking that they don't understand this opportunity that you have. And if you're waiting on them, it may never get done. You don't beg average people to be phenomenal. You don't beg good people to be phenomenal. You just are phenomenal, and you will attract phenomenal. What reason can you remember that you can call on, that you can reach on, that can make you get back up? Find that reason. If you're not where you are, if you're not where you want to be.
So this is one of the media pieces that we're going to be using in our character development program. I don't like using that word because it sounds like we're programming people, but we're going to be asking our players to engage in some things like this, and then we're going to engage with them around some of these topics. This is just a 6-minute video talking about setting goals. And so the rationale that we have for talking about coaching character in sports, you know, there's two kinds of coaches that you remember, the good coaches and the bad coaches. I mean, when it comes down to it, you remember good coaches good mentors because of what they've imparted to you, and you remember the bad ones because of what you don't want to have happen in your life. And our rationale is that no matter what kind of coach you are impacting kids. I just heard the statistics this weekend that said 90% of American 11 to 14-year-olds are playing a competitive sport. Not just playing games or playing intramurals or on, playground, but they're in competitive, 90%. So coaches are really important, and what we impart is really important. So we want to do what great coaches do. We want to do what good coaches do spontaneously. Great coaches are intentional about wanting to teach more than just the sport. We have a lot of good coaches in this district, and so we're just trying to make something intentional that most good coaches do already spontaneously, and that's kind of the rationale. The way we like to think about it is we want to not just make better athletes, we want to also participate with what the parents are trying to do and make better people out of it. I heard this quote the other day, you're the average of your 5 best mentors. And so we want to be able to impact kids, not just, again, trying to go for the W, but with our lives and with certain character traits that are universal. So I've been in this process of mentoring most of my adult life, not all through coaching, but there was 6 basic things that we talked about that kind of built a framework for what we're going to do. And good mentoring is intentional, not just waiting for an opportunity, but making opportunities. It's also flexible. We have athletes of different sports. We have athletes that spend different amount of time, different ages. It's got to be personal. I believe gone is the day of the great coach who is detached from his players. That just doesn't work. That just doesn't work. So we want to be personal, but it's also communal. In other words, the kids learn a lot from each other too. So we're trying to build a framework that is all these things. Also accessible. There are some character development programs that are out there that are big, thick books. It's hard enough to get football players to make sure they bring the right socks to practice and giving them a big book that they need to carry. So what I'm going to show you is something that's a lot more accessible. And we also want to know if we're doing a good job. It's got to be measurable. We want to be able to say, are you developing in this character trait of empathy? Are you developing in this character trait of integrity? How would you know that? So just so you know, time-wise, we're carving out 15 minutes every week in the football season. It can change from sport to sport, but 15 minutes in the football season, right before our team dinner on Thursday night, where we're going to sit down, coaches, we're going to have a group of kids all season long, and we're going to engage in certain content and conversation. The hope is that some change will happen there, but at some other moment when there's a crisis, or when the student says, we were talking about this and I need to talk to you more about this, that those kinds of teachable moments will happen. Let me just show you real quick what the framework looks like. And this is unique to our schedule. I'll give you a copy of this in a second. On the left-hand side is something we're going to ask the kids to do on the weekends. We're going to ask them to actually write 3 goals, 3 very simple goals. And I'll talk about those in a second. There's an on-the-field goal, there's an in-the-training goal, and then there's the man looking in the mirror goal. It's a personal goal. And they're going to set goals on the weekend. For us, it'll be after the game. So Saturday, Sunday, at some point, sit down and set goals. On the right-hand side is just really an open space comment section that the players are going to be commenting on different media that we're going to give to them. They're going to access it any way they want because we're going to create an Edmodo group for the football team. So there'll be an Edmodo group that's a learning platform. A lot of kids use it here at Pennridge just for the football team. And we're going to post videos like the one you saw there and ask them to make a comment on it, or what quote did you like, what question do you have. We're also going to have different stories that are going to be on there, either PDF form or video form. And we're also going to have a speaker. We want the boys to be accessing this and engaging in it at any time of their choosing. 11 o'clock at night, 5 minutes before practice, it doesn't matter. They can do it on their phones. They can gather together and look at their phones if they want. But we want them to be engaging in these things that are going to be around what I call universal character traits. So we want them to engage in the content. So if I can have somebody make sure that the board members get this. All right, thanks. This is just a copy of what you see up here. And while you're getting those, some of the traits that we're talking about are perseverance, integrity, empathy, endurance, and different traits that like that are universal traits. How to learn through adversity. And what we're going to do, and I'll just break this down very quickly here, on the weekend they're going to sit down and reflect on the game, reflect on the last week, and they're going to set 3 goals. In that first block up at the top, it's an on-the-field goal. They'll set some sort of performance goal for the actual game. What do I need to do better? I need to not fumble the ball. I need to remember my plays for the trap series. I need to, and they're going to set a goal that's performance-oriented. And we're going to teach them how to do this summer. And then they're going to set a preparation goal in training. It may be, I'm getting to the field 10 minutes early to throw with the quarterbacks. That's my goal this week in training. I'm going to do 2 extra sets of ladders this week. The whole idea of setting goals, any goal, is something that we all need to do if we want to be successful. So we're going to try to teach them to do this. And then finally, there's a personal goal that they're going to set. In the area of empathy, they may set a goal of, I'm going to talk to one person in every one of my classes that I don't know this week, and I'm going to try to empathize with them. Or there's a couple of students that sit by themselves. You know, we're going to go over and sit with them at lunch, and that's happened before with football players and doing that. So they're going to set some sort of personal goal. It may even be a goal for their family. But we want them to be able to look in the mirror and say, how can I become a better person this week? So they're going to be writing 3 goals. And you'll notice on the right-hand side, it says grade out. When they meet with their coaches, they're going to grade out how they did in the last week. How'd you do this week in that goal? You get 5? You get 3? 5 is good, 1 is bad. What can we do to do better in this? So they're going to be conversing with their coaches about their goals. They do that on the weekend, and it's going to be due Monday before practice. On the other side here is the page where they're going to actually make comments on the media that they look at and they watch. An example was what I started with the presentation with. That's a great one on setting goals and just the power of seeing beyond where you are now. It's a great motivational video. They'll write something down about that. I was able to locate James Franklin, the head coach at Penn State, was the graduation speaker, the commencement speaker at East Stroudsburg University. It was 2 years ago. He gives a 7-minute speech. His commencement speech was 7 minutes, short to the point, and it was great. We're going to have that uploaded for the kids to look at that towards the end of the year to get them to think about the future and what I'm going to do in the future. So you'll notice at the bottom too, we're going to encourage them to bring something to their Thursday night group. What is it out of everything you saw this week that you want to bring to your group and share and talk about? And then the last thing is we're going to actually have them with their little notebooks, writing down, what do I want to remember about what we talked about today? I've always said this, nothing is dynamic until it's specific. So we're going to ask them to write something specific. And we'll see how it goes. This is the plan that we have. It is pretty flexible. We'll see how it works with the boys. They'll all get something like what you have there. If you open it up, that's what their week is going to look like. The weekend workout on the left and the media on the right. So a couple other things that we're also going to be doing. We're planning on coaches visiting the kids at their home. This is an idea we got from a clinic we were at this Saturday. Actually going to the students' homes in groups of 2. Coaches just to meet the kids, kind of like they did. I remember when my kids were in nursery school, the teachers came to our house to meet our kids. It's kind of cool. So kind of see them on their own turf and see their parents on their own turf. So we're planning on doing that, and also the seniors will be going with some of the coaches on a canoe trip, just to kind of have the senior bonding going on there. I don't know the details to that. Coach Hollenbach was talking about that, but he asked me to mention it to you. So, are there any questions that you might have about what we're planning on doing?
So you guys started this yourself?
What's that?
So this came out of football, kind of? Okay.
We've been doing some things intentionally these last 2 years since Coach Hollenbach's been back on staff. But we feel like we can take it like to the next level. We really want to get the kids to engage in more content.
It seems for Babster, is there any discussion of moving this onto other sports?
Yeah, it's open for any team to do. I think we'll do something like that.
Okay. This is the first time it's been brought up tonight, though.
Yes, this is the first time, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes, this is the first time.
Okay. I really commend your written goals. We all know in life written goals, it's not a goal unless it's written and looked at every day. So great job.
We'll see how it goes. We'll definitely have to report on it too, so.
Can you repeat the question, sir? Not all of us can hear him.
I just asked if other sports would...
If other sports would consider doing this, and the answer was this is the first time anybody's seen this, so, but it would not be a problem if other sports would want to do it. It's on an Excel spreadsheet, you can change it any way you want, and some people might want to spend more time, less time, you know, so. Any other questions?
I'm just wondering, are they going to have this in a binder that they're going to keep?
Yeah.
And is it, so that it's easy for them to
It's-
carry around and keep track of
Yeah,
everything?
we have 20 weeks, and they'll have 20 of these pages on a heavier cardstock because it's not going to last if it's in paper like this. So, and we're going to encourage them to have them in their bags, so we carry them in their bags.
That's great. Thank you. We've started having, I think, sports, some students, or a lot of students, I guess, they spend more time with coaches than they do with teachers, especially if they have the same coach over 4 years. So I think it's very important what they're learning, off the field as well. And I think there's been some, starting to have some discussion on the board with goals of focusing more on character. And I think with Dr. Radigan's
Takes pride.
right, takes
Right,
pride. Yeah, that
mhm.
was a question I had too. Are you going to tie in with that at all?
We could try to do that. I don't know how rigid we're going to make it yet
Right.
at this point, but
Right, well, you don't
But-
go through the whole year, and
Right,
that
right.
program has one goal
every month.
each month.
Yes, yeah.
So it would be good, I guess, to try and tie it, so they're not these two unrelated
Right.
programs, just
Right.
to mesh things. But yeah, I appreciate it. When I heard about it, that's what I wanted someone to come and speak about it, because I think it's a great idea, and I think it's something, more, because sports isn't just about, like you said, it's not just about playing the game and winning. It's about developing,
Right.
young men and young women.
One quick story, and then I'll end on that note. I remember when I was coaching at a neighboring school. Okay, it was Souderton, and my kids were going there, and my son was the starting quarterback, and it was his first varsity, start. He was nervous, and I know that the coach is a man of integrity. He was a teacher here at Pennridge for a number of years, and a coach here too, and I appreciated his character, not just his coaching ability. My son was in a tough spot, and he threw his first interception of his varsity, career, and was just really, really upset. And he was young. And I remember seeing the coach take him down to the end of the road there, down past all the benches and all the players. And my son's 6'5", and the coach is not. And I saw them, head to head. The coach put his head on his helmet and put his arms on his shoulders. And I don't know what they said. I don't know what he said. But what he was doing was he was conveying character to him. My son never told me what he said. That's a private moment. I don't need to know that. But he went on to do really well the rest of the game. They did lose, but that moment is like a snapshot in my head where a coach wasn't grabbing him by the face mask and screaming at him for ruining his game. But instead, he saw the kid, and he saw the kid's character. So I'm sitting there as a dad just saying, wow, thank you. Because that really meant a lot to me as a dad, and meant a lot to my son too. So anyway, I'll stop on that note. All right? Thank you.
Perhaps someone will be able to come back after the season and.
Oh, we'll be back, yeah, I think we need to evaluate it. Yeah, yep, to talk about
Share
it.
how it went, and if it's something that can be shared with the other schools, related.
Not a problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, more than merry, thanks.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, all right. Thank you again, Mr. Allen. That was great presentation. So the next item on the agenda is review of the high school football game ticket prices. Oh, the cheerleaders, I forgot. So the cheerleaders are here. So before we do that, the cheerleaders are here. So we had, at one of our past meetings, we talked about their upcoming trips. I believe that the summer, it was a summer trip and then the trip to the Nationals in Florida. Right, and we had asked when you had time to come and share with us.
Do you want the mic? They can come up. Come on up.
Are you the advisor?
Yeah, I'm the coach.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. Oh, there we go. My name is Lindsay Rapp. I'm the head cheerleading coach at Pennridge. This is going to be my 7th season as the cheerleading coach, so it's been a lot of years. One thing I just wanted to emphasize on with what Coach Allen said, and you had asked if other sports do the same thing. We kind of do. We have what's called team time groups, or family time groups, and we try to rotate them every month. It's JV and varsity because we're huge about being a family, and that your JV team feeds into your varsity team. So if your JV team's not treated the same way your varsity team's treated, you're not building a program, you're building a team. And our big thing is a family, it's a team. Cheerleading is pretty much a full year sport. These kids are with me from, well, we actually have tryouts on Monday. So we literally had about 4 weeks off from nationals and we're back at it already again. They just came from practice. So we do try to do team time groups. We also have what's called a goal board. So it's a poster board. They write their own goals on sticky notes and then they move them over. And the board is out at practice every single day so that it's a visual every single day. It's individual goals, it's team goals, whatever they want. They sit down, they have a goal, they write it on the post-it, it stays on the left. When they make the goal, it goes to the right. But it's visual, it's there every single practice so that it is something. So, and we actually do team time groups with football in the summer. So the cheerleaders and the football teams get together and one afternoon, they talk about whatever topic either Coach Hollenbach comes up with or I come up with, just to kind of build some relationship between the football players and cheerleaders because they do spend a lot of time together and it's important that they respect each other as student athletes and as Pennridge student athletes because they are together every Friday night. So if there's not a good bond, it doesn't make for the best of the world that it could be. So I just wanted to answer your question because we do try to do as much as we can because it is an extremely long season and teenage girls can get a little, crazy as it goes on. So we do try to keep them together and keep those goals at sight. So the board had asked us to come and talk about UCA summer camp. It's a 4-day camp. It's 3 nights, 4 days. It is an overnight camp. It's up in the Poconos, Beach Lake, PA is what it's called. And they are in one big cabin. So yes, 16 girls share one cabin and 2 showers. And then our JV team of 30 girls share one cabin with bunk beds and 2 showers. At first when we presented this and talked to the parents about it, they were like, my daughter can't share with her sister. Like, this is going to be a nightmare. And I said, they have to learn. This is part of being a team. You have to share the shower. You have to share the mirror. You're on bunk beds. You have to learn to get along. And if we can't get along in the first 4 days, or really it's like the second week of the season, we got a long road ahead of us. You have to learn to be patient. You have to learn, you can't snap out at somebody when you're tired because the days are long. Camp starts at 7 a.m. and you don't get back into your cabin until about 9:30 p.m. So you can imagine the heat. You're tired. You just did a full week of 2-a-days here before we leave to go to camp. And I can tell you that there were no issues. And everybody was like, what do you mean, 16 teenage girls in a cabin and there were no issues? No, because they knew that if that's how they were going to be, it was going to be a long road ahead, and that they had to be patient and they had to learn to work together. So that was the first thing, and I'll let them talk about that. The next thing the board approved for us was UCA Nationals. This is the first year that Pennridge attended UCA Nationals. We qualified at UCA Regionals in New Jersey. We also had the highest score at the Suburban 1 League Championship, and we won the District 1 Championship, and we were the top 5 in the state. So with those awards, we were able to go to Nationals, and we were blessed and extremely thankful for everything that we got into finals. All 3 of our teams got into finals, which is extremely unheard of, let alone your first year. People had kept telling us all year, you're doing good here, but when you get to nationals, it's really hard to make finals, and you're probably not going to do it. And we just kept saying to the kids, our goal is to get on the floor as many times as we can. It's rounds. It's a semifinal round, a prelim round, a final round. It goes all the way through. And our goal was not to win a national championship. Our goal was step by step. What can we handle? This is our first year. And I can tell you, as a coach, the moment I will never forget is that moment they got announced into finals. I mean, the parents were sobbing, the dads were sobbing, the kids were sobbing, everybody, just because it was like, I could never explain it. I mean, it was honestly just something that it was like, I wish there was video cameras, because we were all like, oh, thank God there weren't, because we looked like a hot mess, but it was amazing. So our goal going into finals, just hit and end on a good note, and we got 10th in the nation. They were featured quickly on ESPN. Our name was up there. We took a big picture because we were like, oh my God, Pennridge is on ESPN. This is crazy. So it was truly an amazing season, an unforgettable season. As a coach, I couldn't have asked for more. I really couldn't have asked for more. So this year it's the same goals in sight. It's first to qualify. We can't looking at a national title until we qualify to go. So it's first to hit as many good competitions locally as we can, get the qualification, and again, go to prelims, go to semis, go to finals, get as many routines in the best routine that you can. And that's all you can ask for, because cheerleading isn't a football game. We don't have halftime. We don't have a timeout. We don't have a first quarter that if it's bad, we can come back out the third quarter. We have one shot. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You have one shot. You have one hand touch on the ground, there's a point off. You have one stunt move and come down, there's a point off. And that's it. They start with points and they just take them off, every little mistake that you make. So I don't, if we're having a bad day, I can't say, hold on, I call a timeout, 30-second, let's regroup. As a coach, you have to sit there and watch it happen, and it is really hard, because there are times I want to get on the mat and be like, I can fix it, I promise, it was just a bad day, but you can't, and that's the way it works. So I'm going to let them talk about their experience, because I think it's more beneficial to hear from them, since it's their thing, than it is to hear from me. Who would like it first? This is Ashley, one of our seniors this year, and then the 7 girls over here are all back with us next year, and they will be on varsity next year, and 9 new girls will be joining them on varsity. So who would like to start? Yeah.
Okay, well, I know Mrs. Ardley, you asked about if the football team was going to use the Take Pride themes. I think that we use them and we don't even mean to. I know when we went to camp last summer, a lot of people told us, like, you guys are such good teammates and you work so well together. I really think that we have Pennridge pride no matter where we go, and it gets seen everywhere. They're always telling us, like, at camp, the people running the camp would tell us, like, you guys are like little soldiers, like, you work so well together. And girls were asking us about, like, oh, like, do you guys fight a lot? And we're like, well, no, not really. And they're like, you guys look so nice, and you're always wearing your school colors. And I think that's really important, and I think that's one thing that makes our team stand out, no matter if we're in Florida or if we're at a competition at Souderton High School or anything. And I think that our team does a really good job at representing our school, and I think that's one of the things as a senior that made memories for me that I'll never forget. And we were really like a group of sisters, and that made my time here a lot more memorable. And I can say that we are a group of very Pennridge pride students, so I just think that, you know, it's important that, I guess, I don't know, but I don't really have anything prepared, but I just think that it was, like, all those take pride themes I think we show every day. Like, I know, like, it was dependability this week, and, well, this month, and I think that I was able to depend on all these girls all season, and that was something we got from working together, and we learned that at camp, and I love camp, and Abby wants to talk about how important camp really was.
I'll talk about camp. Going into camp, we already knew we were like really close as friends, but being with the group of like 16 girls plus like the varsity white team was in our cabin with us, it not only like connected our team, but it connected the other varsity team, and the JV team was only like 10 feet across from us in the other room, so we all really like bonded really well together, and it really built up our program as more of a family atmosphere rather than like little cliques of girls who just happened to make the same team. And we woke up every morning and we went to breakfast together.
They had to clean their cabin.
Oh yeah, we had to clean our cabin. We got
All
like a
their
score of
clothes had to be
it.
hung up. They had to sweep and take out the trash. It's a rule at camp. It's not my rule. It's the rule at camp. They have to sweep the entire cabin and put all the trash out in the morning or they get in trouble. So they have to do chores every day.
And every day after lunch we would have like 30 to 45 minutes to just like sit in our cabin and have a break because we are out there all day, and we would all like during that time we would all just really like bond or like play cards with each other and just like play games and like work. Yeah.
We sang fight song.
Yeah. Oh, we have a team song, fight song. Tori told me to bring that up.
Pass it to someone
I have some more things to say. Anyways, camp was just a great overall experience. It really bonded me to my teammates as family, sisters forever, points up, Ram fam, Rachel. Oh no, do you want to say something?
Sure. This is what I have to deal with.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna talk about nationals. So the rooming situation was, it was 4 girls in each room, and you got to pick for the most part, but we were never in the room. Like, it was usually it was like your 4 you're closest with, but for us, like as a team, we never wanted to be in the rooms. We always were out. We were either competing, or if we were taking out, we were at the parks, or practicing, or anything, but we were, we had like 2 rooms and a door between it, and we would just keep it open, like we would all go in and out, like we were never separated except for when we were sleeping, getting ready, and we just always wanted to be there. It was such a good time. And at nationals, when we didn't do great in our second round, and then we made it through, and then we ended up getting 10th, it like showed all the hard practices, everything hard we went through, like all the tears and everything was so worth it because it was so exciting when we made it through, and seeing how proud like Lindsay and all her parents were, and it just made it all worthwhile. So.
One thing that I'll say about camp is that like being there and like being in the cabin with all like our team and the team like the other varsity, like varsity white, it like gave you a feel for who you're gonna be spending basically the rest of the year with. So like it gave you like, what's the word?
Dependability?
Yeah, it
takes pride theme of the month.
It like made you trust them so that they like, you know that when you're out on the mat with them, you can trust them to do their job while you do yours. Yeah, confidence.
Put confidence in your team.
Oh, okay. I just want to say something quick about camp. I think like a really big thing with our team is just family, and I feel like camp really like brought us together because we were all in the cabin together the whole time, and I don't know, I think it was a really good bonding experience for us. I mean, we're out all day
and then I just feel like when we're in the cabin together, like it was just really good for us. I don't know, I just think that's part of the reason how we got so close, because we were all together for 4 days straight in a cabin, and I don't know.
Closest year.
Huh? Oh yeah, that is a good point. This was probably the 1 year. This year going into the season will be my 3rd year on varsity, and I think last year was probably the closest that I've ever been with like all my teammates, and I feel like camp was really like a big part of that, and I think it really like represented family, and that's what our whole team's about. So.
Cameron's gonna speak now.
Well, both Georgia and I, we were the freshmen on the team in the beginning of the season, and camp was one of the major things that helped both of us because we didn't really know anyone yet. So camp was like the first thing that actually like helped us know everyone on the team and like the team that we're going to be on for the whole rest of the school year. So it helped us get to know everyone and trust everyone.
Going back to nationals, I know somebody talked about it earlier. I think it was Tori. We didn't do good in our semifinal round. We made a lot of mistakes, and no one was yelling at each other. No one was like pointing fingers at each other and saying it was someone's fault that we messed up. And then when we made it through the finals, everyone was really happy for each other. And like I know our whole team was crying and just like really happy. But it wasn't just the varsity team that was happy for us. Like the JV team and the other varsity team were all hugging us. Like we were all jumping like on the chairs. Like people had to tell us to leave because we had to move on to the next thing. And it just like showed that we were all 3 teams were family the whole time. It wasn't just one team. We weren't all like cliques. Like everyone was just together all the time. And we were all just a family the whole season. And camp and nationals really showed it, because camp was when we all started and got to know each other, and the nationals was like the final thing, and we all were together for one last time.
Good.
All right, so now that they're done giggling, so I think you can kind of see the importance of camp and what it meant to them, and nationals and what it meant to them. And I do, have to take a second to say the amount of feedback that this program gets from other coaches, bus drivers, security guards, whoever at a competition about the way these kids conduct themselves in public is something that this district needs to be extremely proud of. We have a rule, and I mean, I am a tough coach, I will say that, but I also love these kids beyond belief. We have a rule on the bus. If trash is not cleaned up, it's 5 minutes of running when we get done. If you do not say hello, goodbye, thank you, something to the bus driver, it's not acceptable. And we started that 7 years ago when I came in, and people were like, "You're crazy." Now, I don't need to tell them to say thank you to somebody. I don't need to tell them to say, "Hi, how are you?" or "Have a great weekend." I don't ever need to tell them that, because as they've grown up in this program, they know what's expected of them. And we had a bus driver one day who pulled me aside and said, "I just have to thank you as a coach and this program, because these are student athletes. They're on their cell phones. They're paying attention to what happened the other week. They're doing something else. They're kids. They're teenage kids. At the end of the road, they're teenage kids." And he said, "That was the first time I've ever had a group of teenage kids get off a bus and every single one look me in the eye and say something. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Whatever." And as a coach, we walk up and down the aisles to check and make sure there's no trash. And they were amazed. And to me, I didn't see anything that big about it, because it's what we do every day. When they're on a bus for a football game, a basketball game, a competition, they know that's just the rules. And as they're on the team, they teach the younger kids, and it filters down. And at competitions, we walked in, and you'll see teams, arguing out of frustration or saying something or not being humble during an award ceremony. And no matter what place they get, they know they stand up and clap, and you're humble, and you move on. Whether it be last place, whether it be first place, it doesn't matter. You still stand up. You're representing Pennridge. And this year we got new uniforms, and part of our thing with the new uniforms is that there's a giant P on their chest. And we talk about that all the time. You're wearing a P on your chest. You're not representing yourself. You're not representing your individual, what you can do, or that so-and-so is a great cheerleader. You're representing this school. You're representing your teammates. You're representing your coaches, your parents, the school. And you need to earn the P on your chest. And when it's on your chest, you need to represent the school 100%. And they can tell you from day one, it is in their brains that it's not, nobody says, "Oh, Ashley did this. So-and-so did this. It's a Pennridge cheerleader did this." and it's a Pennridge cheerleader, not just a cheerleader. So I think at camp they really learned that, and at nationals, and they were like dumbfounded with people that knew Pennridge. And how many times like, where's Pennridge? Where's Pennridge? But I was proud that people were asking that because they were representing the school so well. We had thank you notes sent to us from other schools for their, what was it, a team from Colorado sent us a thank you note because of how humble and how sweet these kids were to their team. And our girls didn't even know where the school was from because they're like that to everybody. They were like, wait, who was that school? Where were they from? Because that's just who they are. And they're good kids. Our average GPA for our varsity team was a 3.3 this year. That's a lot of kids and a lot of GPAs to put together, and that's impressive that they can keep their grades up with 3 nights a week of practice, stay late, stay, football games, because it's not just competitions. It's the football games, it's the basketball games, it's doing stuff for the football team, doing stuff for the basketball team, and I do have to say that these kids represent this school 100% that any person could be extremely proud of if they went out and came to a competition and just, it's amazing. Our parent section is the biggest section out of anyone. I mean, they're a little bit crazy. I mean, it is Pennridge like half of the gym at times, and people are like, I can't believe you have so many fans. It's because of the support, and it's because everybody knows this is how it works. So it is impressive, and we are extremely thankful, and we don't take it for granted at all that they go to camp or go to nationals. Even, they said last year at nationals, guys, we have to do good and we have to represent the school well or we're not going to get another chance at this. And I thought that was profound for a kid to say, that they understand and they know it's not given to them, and they know and appreciate, and we talk about that all the time, that you need to appreciate it or else you're not going to have the opportunity if you don't do well. So again, we thank you for the opportunity, and we are extremely blessed and humbled, and I know they're like ready to climb out of their skin to get back at nationals because, I don't know, it's just knowing that you're like on ESPN and that we could have been on a little bit longer if we did just a little bit better is like enough to be like, all right, we're getting back out there because it's just exciting. I mean, who would have thought? It's Pennridge, it's a small community, it's not Philadelphia, we're not a huge community, we're a small school, and they have the pride, and it shows, and I'm extremely proud. Their parents are proud, everybody is, so we really do thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for coming and sharing your
I didn't know that we took up 35 minutes of their time.
All right, so now we will move on to agenda item number 2, the high school football game prices. So Mr. Babber, are you going to share information about that? Thank you again, girls, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Bavard asked me to see what else is going on in the league as far as ticket prices, and in particular with how we're charging elementary students. And I looked at our overall league, and in our overall league, there's 7 out of 22 schools that do not charge elementary students. So about a third of them do not charge. In our conference, which is made up of the 8 teams locally, 5 out of the 8 teams do not charge elementary schools students. So your Central Bucks, East, West, South, Quakertown, Souderton, all do not charge elementary students. It's just us, North Penn, and Hatboro in our conference that charge elementary school students. So I just wanted to bring that up. I know the board was thinking about how we address elementary students. Do we have them charge or do we not? Everybody in our conference, everybody in our league charges middle school students and high school students. So if you have any other questions with regards to that.
I have a couple questions. Well, one, the schools that don't charge elementary school students, do you know how they verify that they're elementary school students? Is it any elementary school student from any district, or is it by age, and how do they check?
Yeah.
So I could think that it would be hard for
I think,
a ticket booth to say, oh, you're in elementary school or you're not, or is it just they say I'm in elementary school and they say,
yeah,
okay.
I think that's how it works. It's not an exact science. They're looking at their height, their stature.
Right.
Are they coming with their parents? A lot of times, middle school, high school kids will come in a group. they'll get dropped off, they'll drive, and they'll come in together, but, the elementaries will come with their parents and that's
Right.
usually when they can tell.
And then right, so in order to be free, an elementary school student, they have to come in with a parent.
Right,
Right,
right.
you can't just come in with a group of
Yeah,
elementary.
you can't have two little kids show up and say, let me in.
I'm coming in, I'm free.
Right.
Okay. It's only, right, okay, you have to come with a parent. And then, another question that I know people on the board had was, right now, the high school students can get the tickets ahead of time for $1 discount, but middle school students and elementary school students cannot.
Right. They have to buy them at the gate, $5. And most of the schools in our conference do charge a flat rate, $5 for football. Football tickets seem to be more, per se, in demand than the other sports. So, at Souderton, it's $5 for students. At Central Bucks, the 3 schools, it's $5 for students at the night of the game. North Penn, it's $5 for, all students. So there's some schools that are doing that. It helps with getting people in. When it's one rate, it really really speeds things up. If it's 2 rates, you're conversing, how many students, how many adults, and there's more change involved.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there were some board members who were saying if high school students are getting a discount for purchasing the ticket ahead, why couldn't the other students also get a discount? And it might also sell more tickets ahead of time, and then you're dealing with less at
It's,
booth. I don't know how the new ticket booth will be, but I know there were really long lines.
Right. Last year we worked out of one gate, very small. Next year we won't have that issue. We'll have people coming from this lot across a walkway up at the top gate, and we'll also have, people coming up the main gate. So.
And the main gate will have how many ticket booths?
That has 2.
2 ticket
Yeah.
booths, right, which will be, even because at Papa Yoda there were really long lines.
Yeah, yeah. You're never going to get rid of the long line altogether, because people see the game starts at 7 o'clock, and literally most of the people show up right at 7 o'clock. And, when that happens, sometimes I question if they really want to get there on time or not. You get that bottleneck. I don't know if we need to sell, per se, middle school tickets in advance. It's a lot. My secretary, gave up her lunch, each Friday night to go sell tickets during the 4 lunches. Somebody would have to do that at our 3 middle schools. And really, it's a high school event. A lot of middle school kids come to it, but, it's really for the high school students to see their classmates. I know some of the middle school kids know the high school kids. They love coming and hanging out. They might have siblings, but it's really for the high school kids. We do have advanced ticket, plans that, a kid can get a discount rate if they buy a season ticket plan. That will really give them a break. That would be $3 per game if they go to all the games, if they buy that in advance.
So one of the questions was, do we offer the same price for middle school students, and how would we verify that at the gate? With an ID, and I guess I should still explore with the middle school principals, is there a way they can have one-day sale at the middle schools? Because that also, if they come with a ticket, or they get the pass, where they can save money for the whole season. So it's $4 for all high school and middle school students if they buy it, and if it's they save $1 for a season pass, how can we get them through that? I guess I would have to explore that. That's something I want to do.
I would encourage you to just do the flat $5. Some issues that we ran into, we had high school kids that bought their ticket at lunch, and come game time, they come knocking on my door, I lost my ticket. At the middle school, you're going to have even more than that, because, they're going to lose their ticket here, there, and everywhere. So, there's some issues with that. Even though we offer tickets at lunches, I'd say as far as the student population, maybe a quarter of the kids bought tickets in advance, if that. A lot of them, it's a last-minute society. They're texting their friends at 5 o'clock, what are you doing tonight? Let's go to the game. And they go to the game and buy a ticket. So it's not as a big a deal, I think, as you would think.
How about the elementary? If we would let elementary kids in free if they come in with a parent, is that a problem?
No, I think it's worthwhile. A lot of the elementary kids, especially, at football, it's a community event. So, you have, the whole town there, and they're coming with their parents. They're coming to play, they're coming to hang out, They're not necessarily wanting to be there, they're coming with their family. So, the same happens at, tonight we have a volleyball game going on and a girls lacrosse game. The kids that are coming with their parents, sometimes they're bringing their homework, sometimes they're bringing their dinner. They're coming with their family to watch their older sibling. It's not like they want to be there. It's not like they're, buying that ticket for them to watch the game. They're coming along for the ride, basically. So I think, elementary, I agree with the other 5 of the 8 schools in our conference that are saying, hey, elementary, come. We want you to be here, but you don't have to pay.
Can I ask my question? I really just had a logistical question. For the elementary school kids that come without a parent, they can't get in. Well, where do you send them? Who do you contact? It's dark out.
Right.
and then you would get the discount there. What stopped that to now that they sell it at
We used to have a club called Gangrene and P Block. They were official clubs. They're no longer an official club. So years ago we had that. I think when we combined clubs, and those were two of the clubs that have kind of gone away.
Because I was kind of thinking if we did that again, then high school students and middle school students could show their student IDs, and then they would be $4 per ticket, and then if elementary school students showed up with a parent, then they would be $3.
Part of the problem with that, going back, was when you start giving change, what it was doing was backing up the lines. And there were people not making it into the game until midway through the second quarter. And so the school district got complaints about that. So if you make it $5, that's easy change to get back and forth as opposed to dealing with ones. So we went to the idea of selling the student tickets during lunch because they could just show up, actually not a line, they walk right on and they show their ticket and go through. So a lot of it has to do with the lines. And maybe that's taken care of this year since we'll have 2 gates. Last year we had one. It was horrible down in Palmyra because there was the one, not a lot of people went around the very back way because it was difficult to get if you were buying a ticket. So maybe the problem's solved with the new infrastructure that the board put in, but we won't know that until we get through one year. But that was part of it. People complained they were, halfway through the second quarter, they're not even in. Because like Mr. Babb said, 7 o'clock game, they're showing up at 7 instead of actually making sure they were there early enough to be seated by 7. So that's part of that.
Because I was also wondering about the middle schoolers, because they're not a high schooler, they can't buy the tickets at lunch, and then they're not an elementary school student that could show up with a parent and get it in for free. So they would have to pay $5, and let's say their older sibling, would they be able to buy a ticket for their middle school aged sibling?
Only if they change it. Right now, it's basically, it's a high school student that purchases ahead of time.
Okay, very good.
You're going to look in to see if the middle schools would be able to sell tickets on game day
Correct.
at lunch, or and set that up so that they could be able to purchase the tickets. But it is true they could. I don't know. Middle school students have to buy their dance tickets in advance, and they're responsible. Although they do keep, I believe, a list of their names,
right.
so if they lose it, they have their names at the school if they lose their tickets. But I mean, that could just be a middle, if you lose, I mean, I guess it's just their lesson learned.
We can look into the middle school thing.
Yeah. So I guess we have to decide if we be, if we want to change the results, then we have to go. So, I mean, there's only 3 boards. We can say we want to put a motion on and then let the board vote on it.
In the motion, we do want to do 2 parts. One about elementary students in free with an adult, and then the second part will be extend the same price to middle school students that we do for high school students with an ID. Because even if you have it, then we'll still give us time to look into how they would sell it next year. Because if they could pre-sell them, that doesn't affect any line whatsoever. So we can look into that, but we'll do a 2-part motion.
Yeah,
Is that better for you?
Are you in favor of that? Yeah, okay, so we'll put the motion on and then we'll do that at the next meeting, so. Yeah, and so just have a little more information about how the middle schools.
We'll look at the